I said to someone earlier, if all you can do on Martin Luther King's birthday in 2015 is celebrate him, I suggest you go shopping. Thank you.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
I want to thank Bishop Abernathy, Reverend Crawford, and the day's guests for inviting me today to speak to y'all on Dr. King's Day, a day we all struggled for long and hard. We heard a lot today. I thought it was important we heard from Damon Jones, who's in law enforcement, who actually is in corrections, where our guys and gals get locked up, and D.A. Johnson, who has the sad task of prosecuting many of our people. And that's not what Dr. King was talking about. Earlier, somebody mentioned his last words at that church in Tennessee. At the Mason Hall in Tennessee. That there was a promised land. And that he may not get there with us, but we were going to get there. But I ask you, since 1968, have we arrived at that promised land? Or are we like the Jews of the Old Testament, still wandering in that desert? Still wandering in that desert.
All right now.
Because God won't let us out. God did not let the Jews out of the desert. Why? They had no faith. They had no faith. We wonder why black people in America are not moving forward. Yes, every Sunday for an hour or 2 hours, some cases 6 hours, folks are in church. But those hour to 6 hours is not what's going to move our people forward. It's those folks who are out there not in here. It's about how do we fill ourselves in our lives to have faith. And faith in those things that are unseen. Our children go to school. We have free education for public school for kids, right? So why is it kids are dropping out of school, not in high school, but in 7th grade? Not dropping in high school, dropping in 7th grade.
No.
Because they have no faith. They have no vision. And then I take responsibility. I was born in 58. I was almost 10 when Dr. King was murdered. But there were things that were set up for us. Affirmative action. Going to college. They opened up the Ivy League schools for more and more black people. Why haven't we lifted our folks up to where they should be? We've been in the desert for a long time because our folks lack faith. We need to find a way of restoring that faith of getting out so we can get through that desert and bring our people to the promised land. And part of the lack of faith comes from what Bjarne talked about. Our politics is not what it should be. Yes, we got a brother in the White House. In fact, 6 years ago today, he got sworn in as President of the United States. Because it turns out, Barack Obama is not Moses. He's not up at Pharaoh's house coming out to rescue us, move us forward. It's his job. There are things we got to do for ourselves.
I know that, right?
And I got to tell you, it heartened me to walk in here and see a room with men. I walk in churches and other places, I hardly ever see men. And I'll tell you where I see men. I walk into a mosque or a masjid, I got 400 brothers sitting there praying to God. You wonder why is the African immigrant in America and New York today to be moving forward? What did I just say about faith? It's the same God, different name, but the brothers and sisters there, they got faith. We got to restore our faith. We got to move forward. We got to get out of the desert. We got to find the promised land. And what did the Jews do once they got out of the desert?
Come to Joseph.
A whole lot of killing going on.
That's right.
They took stuff. God said, this is our land, we're going to take it. They took it by sword, by spear. They killed women and children because God gave them that land. Now I'm not advocating we go kill anybody.
All right, thank you.
When our folks out of the desert, there's a way of using education. Dr. King went to Morehouse at 15. What would our kids today call Dr. King? A nerd, a geek, trying to act white. That ain't the case. The brother knew what he had to do for our people. God God anointed him so that at 15 he was going to Morehouse, a place that makes men. We have to have our own Morehouses in our homes. We got to make men. You all know my cousin the 2 times. Your sister, my Aunt Esther, made men out of her boys. She's made men out of her grandsons. We must do the same. And the brothers that are here, who are fathers, uncles, don't leave it up to the women to make men out of men, to make boys out of men, boys into men. You got to do that yourselves too. You got to mentor. You got to talk to boys. Tell them what they got to do. That it's about becoming a man and moving your people forward and come out of the desert and claiming what God gave us. The reason I'm speaking here today, after a 5-year absence from politics and all kinds of stuff, there were things that aren't right in our community. I walked away. I wasn't defeated in office. God, I believe, anointed me and had me run for public office. Eventually I won, served 8 years. Then he said it was time to go. Because there were things in my life I had to deal with and overcome and make better. But in that absence, a whole lot of bad things seem to be happening in the Bronx. And it's not because I'm not in the Bronx. It wasn't in the Bronx. It's because we don't have faith. The people we've been electing don't have the faith in God the way we want them to have it. And many of you remember when I was in office, I always talked about asking people to pray for me when I was in Albany. Because we know what happens up there. And it's prayer that helps our people. Every Tuesday when I was in Albany in session, we had fellowship. I was the only black Democrat, the only Democrat who was at the fellowship service. Everybody else was Republican. So I carried my faith with me to Albany. I used my faith in my office when I was there. I think it's because of that that Pastor Prof and others have asked me to reconsider and think about running again for public office. It's not because there's any sort of pride on my part. I think it's something the committee may have seen and would like to try to restore some balance. Because I was at the trial recently of our Assemblyman. It was a horrible thing to hear. And we knew it was so overwhelming that an hour and a half after I left the trial, I got a call from a lawyer friend of mine telling me he was convicted. A number of black elected officials in the last 4 years have been indicted, tried, and convicted and are serving time in prison. Now what does that say to our kids? The kid gets arrested for breaking into my apartment. The kid gets arrested for selling drugs, for shooting a baby. Oh, what? They're doing it. They're trying to make their little buck. Right? Same thing. Oh, they're trying to make chump change selling drugs. Chump change selling your office. Oh, really? My predecessor was convicted of corruption. $24,000. My successor just got convicted for $22,000. Chump change. We're going to give up our lives and embarrass our people for less than $50,000? I mean, I'm not advocating commit crimes, but gee, if you want to do something in America, you look at Bernie Madoff. And Madoff with all those bucks.
Oh boy.
But that's not Dr. King's message. His message is really about how do we become drum majors for justice.
All right, come on.
In our neighborhoods, in our homes, in our hearts. And there are little things we can do for that. Little things. The things that John Lemon did as a bus operator. Things he did as president of the Bronx branch NAACP. We can lead our people a little way, but everybody's got to do a little bit of that. What did what's her name? Senator Hillary Clinton say when she conceded finally to Barack Obama in 2008? And she put 1,000 cracks in that glass ceiling for women. If each of us were drum majors for justice, you all know drum majors carry the little mace around, moving up, moving up and down, right? Use the point of the drum major scepter and you crack that ceiling. So John does something, Yarny does something, you do something, Sophia does something, we're going to crack it. And our people will emerge from the desert and they will have the power and the education and the will what God has given us. Amen, church. Thank you.
Amen. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. We are certainly blessed by these individuals who have come and spoken. I know you have been sitting a long time, so I'm going to ask the youth choir to come at this time and give us a selection. Amen. And we're going to go right back to our program. We're not going to be much longer. Amen. We thank you for coming out. We don't want to hold you all day. Amen. So at this time, our youth are going to come, and then we will have our memorial after that. Come on, youth adults. Come on. Give us a selection at this time.